Hey guys, welcome to Entertainment Talk Nation. I'm your host Rob, and this video we're going to do our preview of episode 12 of The Walking Dead entitled Still. Okay guys, welcome back. So this Sunday, obviously, another episode of The Walking Dead. We are heading into episode 12, which means after this episode, there's only 4 left till the end of the season. And as I said in my other videos, the characters are slowly all kind of heading towards this sanctuary that has been pretty much almost the focal point of the second half of season 4. Now, the synopsis, for this episode reads, faced with the day-to-day survival of life outside shelter, a simple request by someone in the group leads to a bizarre but enlightening mission. So it's a really kind of odd description. I couldn't even dissect that if I wanted to, because, you know, when I think mission, I think about Abraham and what he wanted to do with Eugene and Rosita, and I know that's still their focal point. I mean, obviously, Eugene told Abraham, hey, you know, we'll roll with them until we find a car, then we'll go to Washington. But at the same time, when you look at some of the previews for the episode on AMC.com, you know, the videos and stuff, we're seeing a lot of Daryl, we're seeing a lot of Beth, and they're struggling. I would say, out of everybody out there, they're probably struggling the most. Now, we haven't gotten a lot of Maggie, Sasha, and Bobby Stuckey. We haven't gotten a lot of them, so they could be struggling just as much. But for the most part, this seems that Beth and Daryl are having the hardest time. And we see them, they had a clip there, and obviously you see Daryl trying to catch a squirrel. One of his bolts for his crossbow break. So obviously that's going to be an issue because, you know, you start breaking bolts and you're running out of arrows, bolts. And now not only are you really have to be careful with what you're going to shoot. You know, the great thing about his crossbow that's been proven is that it's effective and it's quiet, and you could reuse the ammo. So that can be a concern. And then we see Beth building a fire, busting her tail, and they just are not doing well. And then they show Daryl once again hunting, and he catches a snake. And you know, that's what it is right now. They're struggling. They are struggling to survive in the wilderness. Eating vermin and you know, snakes and squirrels and having to deal with walkers and whatever else comes their way, which is interesting because 2 episodes ago I really thought they were going to end up right behind Carol and Tyrese, because it seemed like Daryl was tracking them. It was almost like he was right behind them, you know, by a couple of hours. But Daryl's a very good tracker. He's proven that in the past. So I'm very surprised that he hasn't kept track with them and just ended up on the train track like everybody else. You know, we know that Carol and Tyrese are heading the direction with the kids. We now know that Michonne, Carl, and Rick are heading in that direction. And we know that Glenn and Tara are with Abraham, Eugene, and Rosita. They're backpedaling. So what I'm wondering is if at some point they're going to either run into somebody, or if they are closer to the sanctuary than everybody else, and they'll just happen to arrive there first. So that pretty much leaves Daryl, Beth, Maggie, Bobby Stuckey, and Sasha. So and like I said, Sasha and those two, we haven't seen a lot of them, so we don't really know what their deal is. So very interesting. So I'm wondering if that mission relation or what they're relating to in the comment is going to be more geared towards like Abraham and that sort of group, even though we're seeing a lot of Beth and Daryl in the preview. Very interesting. So that's definitely one thing I couldn't dissect. One thing's for sure, I think this episode, in my opinion, we're definitely going to get somebody, another group out of those 2 or 3, if you want to, you know, if you want to consider Glenn and that group off the beaten path, if you want to consider them not heading, because we don't really know where they are. We know that they're far out. Who's the next group to pretty much get on the train tracks and head towards the sanctuary like everybody else? That remains the question, because that's really what it's gearing towards now. It's really gearing towards the group systematically heading towards the sanctuary And I think the conclusion is going to be whether or not we're going to find out whether the sanctuary is legit. It sounded like it could be. I mean, remember that one old guy who got bitten and he told Tyrese and Carol to go that direction. He seemed like a pretty genuine guy. I don't think in his dying moments he would lead them astray. But, this this is the apocalypse and people have done crazier things. So very, very interesting title for the episode and very interesting synopsis because we really don't know at this point what this is. Probably one of the episodes that I really, really can't call. But based on everything we've seen, I think it's safe to say that there's going to be another group that is going to start making their way to the sanctuary. Now, I want to thank those who pointed out to me that Morgan is not going to be, I guess, not in this season. Like I said, I don't read a lot of spoilers outside of on this show because I like it so much. I don't like to spoil things. I know there's a lot of people who keep up with that stuff, and I try not to do that because I don't want to run into a spoiler. But that was a little upsetting to hear that, especially considering that before the season started, they had said that he would be on the show. So that was a little unfortunate to hear, but I want to thank you guys who gave me the heads up on that. So we don't have to worry about Morgan anymore. That's not an issue anymore. So I think the remaining question here is the rumor that I heard, that many people heard, of another major character death. And the most popular consensus is Maggie. So now the question is, with 5 episodes left, A, are we going to see that? And B, if we are, when? That's the remaining question. But outside of that, the episode still looks very, very interesting. I'm very interested to see what's going to happen here because it seems a little, based on the synopsis and based on the previews, it looks a little odd. It doesn't look like anything going on in the show with these clips is very mission-oriented or mission-related, but nonetheless, it'll be very interesting to see. And hopefully Daryl and Beth can get out of it because, boy, they're struggling bad. They are struggling bad. So anyway, guys, that's it for this video. I will see you Sunday night for the Walking Dead review. And this is, and that's basically it. Interesting, very, very interesting show. Great, and a great season so far. Very great, very, very good season. So this is me signing off for E.T.N, where we don't do news, we just do entertainment. Take it easy, guys.